life's too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to a belated Bands, Bikes and Booze review. Firstly, I have to say thank you very much to all the people who messaged saying, am I still alive? Am I ill? Is there something wrong with me? No, everything's fine. It's all good. No health scares. So calm your collective tits. I've took a break from doing the videos for a while. Various reasons. I've been really busy in the studio, just recording stuff, working with the band and other bands as well, other people who wanted to record, really trying to get my head around learning the art of recording, and I just have not had time to sit down and review beers. I know you think it's just a case of sitting in front of a video and just saying what you think about the beer, etc., but it's not. I like to put a lot of research into the stuff that I do. And then, of course, then you've got to slice and dice all the videos that you do as well, so you're not getting long gaps of me going what, that kind of thing. Nobody wants to see that. So there you go. I've also been busy at work as well. We've been given a new workload, and it has been really, I wouldn't say punishing, because at the end of the day I'm sitting on my fat arse, but it's been heavier than usual, and I've been finishing later than usual. Not complaining, all work for the working man, as they say, but I've been busier, so there have been other things, and I really do appreciate, and I am the worst in the world, I'll hold my hands up at replying to stuff, and yeah, it is a real big failing in me. I know it's terrible, but I do read all your comments, so please keep them coming. I do get notified every time somebody drops a comment, and yeah, I will reply in time. So again, apologies for the gap. Really do appreciate you. I see there's been a few new subscribers as well. All good. Really do appreciate that. So nearly up to 2,000 subscribers now. I think it's 1,800 and something. I don't know. To be honest, as I say, I really do appreciate you subscribing. I'm not out to gain subscribers. If people get anything out of these videos, subscribe if you like. Give us a thumbs up if you like. I'm not going to beg you. And if you've got any critical comments, please, I'm more interested in them. And any mistakes that I've made, please let me know. I'm keen to learn, and I'm keen to get things right. So what I'm going to do now, again, I have still got this big workload that I'm trying to juggle. I've got quite a big build-up of videos that I've done in the past, so I'm going to start uploading them. Maybe not current videos, but if I do see a decent beer, I will buy it and I will review it. But I want to get through that backlog of stuff that I've already recorded. As I say, it takes a long time to chop them up and put them into an order and to get them presentable as a video. So that is probably what I'm going to do. Just get rid of that backlog and then start doing some new beers. Please keep up the requests for new beers to try. Now, that out of the way, I've got two beers here today. And one of them is a local beer. It's Curious Brewing, I should say. They call it a session IPA. And this is a beer that was given to me by a mate, Julian. Thank you very much for that. It's from a beer shop or a bottle shop that he uses, which is based in Hertford. Is it Hertford East or Hertford North? Can't remember. Oh shit, you're fucking useless, you twat. But it's one of the Hertford stations, and it's called Mind the Gap. I'm sure if you've been through either Hertford North or Hertford East, you will have seen that shop. But they've done a collaboration with Baron Brewing, who again are another Hertfordshire brewery from Buntingford. They are quite a new craft brew place, and my views on craft beer. So this is going to be a completely impartial review. I've got no skin in the game. I'm purely going to drink this beer and give it my honest opinion of what's based in the can. Now, as you may know, disclaimer, these are two, what I'm guessing are American style beers. They've got hops in here that I'm not really keen on. So I'm doing the two together because I'm trying to make up for lost time, and I've got these two beers, and I thought I'll give you two for the price of one. But I haven't chosen these beers. These are the only beers I've got left in the fridge at the moment. So I thought I'm going to review them, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion of them. Disclaimer now, if you're a fan of craft beer, I'm not a huge fan of that fruit cocktail, American style flavour. Why am I reviewing these, you ask? Well, it's just to prove that I will taste them every now and again just to see if there's anything different, if my palate has changed, or indeed if there are any hidden gems. To be honest, so far, not really. And I am tending to see that a lot of craft brewers at the moment are in trouble. I think COVID has dealt them a bit of a hammer blow. But I also think that tastes are changing as well. I see a lot of people in the comments, and I'm not saying that my video is a good guide on people's taste, and I'm sure there are lots and lots of people out there who like craft beer, but I do think a lot of people are, I wouldn't say getting fed up with it, but I think the whole thing about the price, what you get for your money, and the general flavour really is not conducive to people spending lots of money on it, if you can envisage that. But that's my personal view. So without further ado, and with that all out of the way, let's get these two beers investigated. Right, I'm going to do this one first. This is the Curious Brewing US. It's Curious Brewing Session IPA. Now, these are from up the road from me. They're in a place called Ashford, which is in Kent. I'm sure you've heard of it. Ashford International is a big station. If you're going into Europe and all that, you can get the Eurostar from there. I've ended up sleeping there many a time after a drunken night out, and I've missed my stop and ended up there. And yeah, I can say that the station is okay to sleep in. At least you're out of the cold. And believe me, I've slept in the cold before. There's dedication for you. But yeah, they're quite a new brewery, and I see their beer quite a lot in the supermarkets. I got this from a co-op, and I see their beer in some of the pubs as well. Some of the pubs that do sort of craft beer, or they know what they're not tied to a house, or they're not a Shepherd Neame pub, if you know what I mean. But I don't recall. I think I may have reviewed this once on the channel. I know they do a Pilsner as well. I'm not sure about the Pilsner. Some of the hops they put in there, they put Challenger hops in there and some American hops as well. I just don't get that if you're going to do a Pilsner. And this lot have done the same as well, and I'll get onto that in a bit. But for me, again, I'm going to start, not ranting, but I'm going to put my traditional head on here. A Pilsner needs to be spicy. If you're going to call it Pilsner, it originates from Pilsen in the Czech Republic, which, of course, is famous for its Saaz hops. And Saaz hops are what gives Pilsner its unique character. Now, German Pilsners, especially North German Pilsners, they get that. UK brewers, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. When they start putting American hops into Pilsners and stuff, you've lost me completely. You really have. And yeah, anyway, that's for another time. But I don't know. I'm assuming this is an American style IPA, which is a shame, because IPA is not an American style. It is an English style, regardless of what anybody says. It stands for India Pale Ale, in case you didn't know. Where does that come from? Well, it comes from the beer that was shipped over to India by the East India Company, and that's where it originates from. Yes, it was heavily hopped, or highly hopped, and it looked nothing like what the Americans are brewing now. They should just call it American Ale and have done with it, and fly the flag, Uncle Sam and all that. But they've chosen to call it IPAs and pale ales as well. Bizarre. Anyway, this one, Mind the Gap Pale, 5.2%. It's got quite a lot of gum from the back of it, but I'll quickly run through it. Yeah, it's a 5.2% beer. It's a pale ale, and its ingredients are water, malted barley, oats, hops, and yeast. Oats. They love to put hop in these craft style beers. They love putting oats in there, and that's to give it some body. And again, I don't get why they do that. Is it the style? I don't know. But if you need to put oats into beer, now of course you get oatmeal stout and stuff like that in dark beers and porters. Yeah, I kind of get that. But into light IPAs, what? Why? If it's thin, it's got a thin body in it. Using oats, I just don't get it. Maybe I'm just a purist. Maybe I've drunk too much German beer and too much quality English beer. But we are where we are. What I do like about this lot is, and a lot of craft brewers do this, they give you really good information on the back about what's in the beer. What does it say on the back? Bridging the gap between us and our friends at Mind the Tap. Not Mind the Gap, Mind the Tap. In Hertford North Station. There you go. It's not Hertford East. I knew there was two there. It's Hertford North. If you're there, check it out. what's this? Cheap Life and All City Sports, from the city to the suburbs. Well, they've done a collaboration with them too. The hops are Yakima 303 Trial Cryo, Nelson Suavin, Enigma. I didn't research them, because the Nelson Suavin I've seen before, usually in pale ales and IPAs. I've seen that before. Yakima 303 Trial Cryo. I'm assuming that's some kind of experimental freeze-dried hop, judging by the cryo name. I don't know. Enigma, well, that is an enigma to me. Grains X Pale, well, I imagine that's the base malt. Chit, whatever that is. Yes, I did say chit. Oats, flaked and malt. So you've got flaked and malted oats and Vienna malt as well. Again, that's another thing I see with these beers. They put loads and loads of malt in it, but there's hardly any malt character in a lot of them because of them overpowering hops. Again, it's bizarre. And they've got water, and the ingredients in the water, they've actually measured it. Calcium, magnesium, CLH. What does that stand for? Hope it's not fucking chloroform. I'll be fucking Sparko. Sulfur. Yeah, that's quite interesting, and that'll give you an idea of the water you're dealing with. I imagine there may be some purification going on in there. I don't know. Nerdy bits. 303 contains Phantasm, which is derived from New Zealand Sauv Blanc grape skins. Fucking grapes, they use that in wine, don't they? The dirty bastards. And a high teal precursor. This means tapping into another dimension of tropical hop aroma. Also added Nelson Suavin, which has Sauvignon aromas, hence the name. And Enigma. This beer is buzzing with gooseberry goodness. Gooseberry, Jesus, in a beer. Fucking behave yourselves. What we got on this lot? Right, I know I've actually looked up the ingredients on it. I'll give you a breakdown of the hops in a minute. This is a triple hopped session IPA of curiously crafted balance, finesse and distinctive drinkability. This refreshing and zesty session IPA with 3 complementary hops: English Golding, Chinook and Cascade. That's the alarm bell for me, Cascade. Not a fan. A lot of grapefruit in Cascade, and I do not fucking like grapefruits. Takes a sessionable IPA to another flavour level. Our reason for being is to inspire people to stay curious, to question, to celebrate, to smile more. Fuck that. Smile. Bollocks. To never graduate from the school of life. Oh, who comes up with this fucking bollocks, eh? Zesty and refreshing triple hop session IPA. Right, okay. And what's the ABV on this? It is 4.4%. Right, so the 3 hops that are in that are Goldings. They've got English Goldings in there. Nice. Good choice for an IPA if you're doing an English IPA. Quite spicy, quite earthy as well. And they also have a little honey note to them as well if you're using English Goldings. I'm not sure whether these are Kent Goldings or not, or whether these are locally bought. I would imagine these are locally bought Kent hops. So interesting on there. Chinook, American style hop. Not really my kind of favourite hop. It's very pine heavy or resinous, and there's a lot of spice in there as well, which for an IPA again is quite good. But then you've got the fucking devil incarnate, which is Cascade. And of course you've got more pine in there, a little bit of orange peel, lychee as well. Some people have said they get lychee notes from it. Never really found that because it's got a big seam of that fucking devil's piss called grapefruit. And I don't like it. So there we are. Anyway, let's get these fuckers open, see what's going on. Right, let's do the curious first, because being a local brewery, I want to see what all this is about. I may have reviewed this on the channel before. I think I might have done their Pilsner. And again, as I mentioned before, the Pilsner, it's nothing like a Pilsner. It's got fucking American style hops in the Pilsners as well. And I'm not sure about that. It has got German hops, Huel Melon, which is a newer style of German hop from the Huel University or whatever it is, or research centre. This glass is very fucking dirty. I do apologise. That's how long ago it is since I've used that glass. But that's a weird flavour, aroma I should say. Oh, I'm getting the orange, definitely. There is definitely orange in that, and fruity notes. Not much grapefruit. Slight piney note to it as well, but it's mainly orange. And there's a weird, I don't know, it's like a, I'm always going to say it's like a, is it DMS? I don't know. It's like a creamy style flavour, almost like sweet corn, diacetyl. Not sure. Diacetyl in some beers isn't too bad. In lager, it's an abomination. It means you haven't lagered it for long enough. But in certain ales, certain English style pale ales, a little bit of diacetyl isn't that bad. Gives it a nice sort of creamy flavour. But if it's overpowering, I do tend to find it in Czech Pilsners as well. Every now and again you'll find a Czech Pilsner, and Pilsner Urquell is renowned for that, and it is a bit of a characteristic, I will say, but it has to be subtle. If it's overpowering, it makes the beer taste fucking horrible. But yeah, that's mainly what I'm getting. Very subtle orange notes, and potentially lychee as well. I mean, I haven't had a lychee in fucking ages. The last time I had a lychee was in a Chinese restaurant, would you believe? They love them as afters after a meal. Yeah, not bad. Right, let's get this thing opened up. This is the Bridge the Gap collaboration with Baron Brewing from Buntingford. Very posh. Not for the likes of a rough bloke like me. And that ale is pale. Cloudy. Very cloudy, in fact. On the nose. Oh, yeah. Oh, Christ. I do tend to find a lot of these craft beers, when you open it up, you get like an oniony and garlic style aroma to it. I think that's probably a mixture of possibly the sulphur, but a lot of very fresh hops and certain types of hop do have that garlicky, oniony type aroma to it. Very off-putting for me. I'm not a fan of that. And it is quite big. The last beer that was really overpowering with that, I remember, was the Brewdog Owls IPA. That was really oniony, but I have been in tap rooms where a mate has bought, who's really into craft beer. Andrew, if you're watching, how you doing, mate? He'll buy these kind of thing, and I have a sniff, and more often than not, I'm getting this kind of oniony, garlicky style aroma. It's piney as well. I think that's probably what it is. It's that pine, that resinous pine, fresh resinous pine. It can translate to me as quite oniony, but it is big. And I suppose if you get like pine leaves, or a pine, a pine leaf off a pine tree, and give it a whiff, and maybe just chew one of the leaves, or one of the bits of the leaves, one of the needles, I should say, you will get what I'm talking about. But that's definitely there, and it's big as well, very piney. So I'm imagining that hop that they listed there, that cryo, was it Yakima? Sounds Japanese. Yakima 303. Sounds like a train, a Japanese train. Nelson Suavin as well. Anything with wine has no place in beer. Yeah, I have to say, out of two. This wasn't going to be a comparison video, but I might as well turn it into one. Yeah, that's pungent. That really is pungent. Pungent pine. So, without further ado, let's get these two beers tasted. Bottoms up. Actually, that isn't too bad. It's got quite a zesty, orangey type flavour to it. And it isn't bad. Not as American as I thought it was going to be. I mean, it's not on a par with the Fuller's Bengal Lancer, which for me is one of the best IPAs, English style IPAs out there today. And with Fuller's beer, fuller's yeast especially, you do tend to get a strain of marmalade zest running through it, and it does make for a nice IPA. This has got something alluding to that, and it's not as full-bodied, and it's not as rounded as the Bengal Lancer, but with the Chinook and the Cascade, I thought there was going to be a lot more American fruit style flavour to it. There isn't. There's more of the spice and that orange peel. They're the big things that come from it. The lychee, not really getting in the flavour. It's quite bitter as well, and dry too. Don't know whether it's that grapefruit that's giving it that, but I'm not really getting the grapefruit much in the flavour. But I think that slightly dry finish could be coming from that. I don't know. That's what do they call it? Psychosemantic thing of grapefruit being dry. Bear in mind, I haven't had a beer like this in a long time. You know, in between that month or so break that I've had, I've just mainly been drinking Hofbrau, the odd occasional Timothy Taylor, Broadside, the usual fare. Had a few stouts in the Wetherspoons. They had some local stuff on, some very good stuff, but not really had much of this American stuff at all. Yeah, that's drinkable. Not sure about buying more of that. And as much as I do like to support local brewers, there's better out there. Put it that way. Right, now this stuff. This is a collaboration from Bridge the Gap and the Banford Brewing and the Baron Brewing, I should say, from Buntingford. Right, let's give it a go. That pine on the aroma is big. It's not as big in the flavour, I will say that, but it is absolutely pungent. It really is. Very almost oniony garlic, that type of aroma. Doesn't really translate to the flavour, and despite the amount of malt they've put in this and the oats, this is more full-bodied, I have to say. I don't know what it is. It seems to be a thing with craft brewers, dumping loads of oats into, and wheat sometimes as well, dumping it into their beer. I don't get it. I really don't. I know it's, well, I do get it. It's to give it more body, but I don't like it. This to me is where craft beer is going wrong. And if you look at this website, it's mainly on their site, it's IPAs, triple IPAs, double IPAs, pale ales, that kind of thing. And there's quite a few on there. They do a couple of stouts or porters. And this is my take on craft beer. These kind of beers, in my opinion, are easier to brew. And this is my opinion. If somebody knows different, please tell me. But in my opinion, these beers are easy to brew because of the huge flavours that come from the hops. And even if you don't get that huge flavour from the hops, and I've seen it before, some craft brewers don't even make a secret of it. They'll throw some fruit puree in there. Now, to me, that is baffling. And if you're a brewer of quality beer, then you don't need to throw fruit puree into your beer. Some of the concoctions they come up with is fucking baffling. It really is. And as I say, on their website, it's all IPAs, triple IPAs, porter as well. I think where with the craft IPAs and the craft pale ales, where the hops will bail you out, I think with porters and stouts, the roasted malt will bail you out because it's such a strong flavour. The real test for me is somebody, a brewer, who can brew a decent pilsner and a decent lager. They are the ultimate in brewing. Everybody can laugh, they say, oh, lager, it's boring, it's fucking rubbish. Yes, your macro stuff is. However, good quality lager is, for me, the ultimate test. Reason being, your ingredients. Now, I've seen this Banford Brewing, they do have a pilsner, and they've started putting American style hops in there, and they make a big thing about it tasting fruity and melony. Pilsner is not supposed to taste like that. Call it something else. Don't call it a pilsner. There's no reason, there's nothing in there for it to be called a pilsner. If you're going to call it a lager, call it a fruity lager or something like that, because you could argue that lager is a correct term for any beer that is stored for a while. But again, this is where I think craft brewers are going wrong. They don't realise, well, I don't know whether they realise, but they don't do it. Lager, if you're going to call a beer a lager, any bottom fermented beer, it has to be stored for a long time. The German word for storing something is a lager. Somewhere where there was a big concentration of people, it was called a lager, hence the name Munster Lager, which was the old British Army, the Rhines base in West Germany at the time of the Cold War. But I don't think craft brewers get that you need to store lager for a sizable amount of time. 6 weeks minimum, in my opinion. It's what the Germans do, and that's why it's so good. And I think the reason they don't do that is because A, they don't have the space. B, it's not profitable when beer is sitting doing nothing. Hence the reason I think why they have quite a high turnover of beer. They have to get it out the door, keep the money coming in. I mean, this stuff is perfect for doing that. You know, your American hops, they'll preserve it for a while. They say drink fresh on most craft beer cans. I don't know whether it's got it on here or not, but most craft brewers will say drink fresh. Reason being is because they need to keep that turnover going. The ingredients won't keep because thankfully they've not put any preservatives in there. But the good thing with lager, and when you store it for a long time, any yeast sediment that is in there will eat all the nasty. So for example, your diacetyl, your nasty flavours will all get eaten up. It's why macro lager is so bad. It's because it's not lagered for any amount of time. I did read somewhere, somebody worked at Brewing Foster's, and they said their lagering time was something like 9 hours. That's why it tastes like shit, is because you have to leave it for a long time. The yeast that's in lager will eat up all them nasties while it's sitting there lagering, as the name would suggest, and they just don't do it. And again, you know, I'm not trying to slag off the craft beer industry. I mean, it's good, it's given the brewing industry a kick up the arse, but when you're brewing stuff like this, it's not that popular, and hence the reason why a lot of craft brewers have folded, unfortunately. And I don't take any delight in that whatsoever. I've said this on a lot of videos, and again I'm going to reiterate the point. I don't take any glee in watching any business go under. It's someone's dream and it's people's jobs, and that's tragic in my opinion. However, there are ways that you could mitigate that by just perfecting the art of brewing a decent lager. I mean, there must be someone in the UK that can do that. This sounds, I know I sound like a broken record and I go through it all the time. Let's face it, the brewing industry as a whole is, I wouldn't say it's on the wane, but it's going through some very, very tough times. And I think you need to really, I don't know, you just need to look at your market and tailor your beer towards your market. And yeah, I don't think with beers like this you're really going to do that. And I'm not having a go at Banford in particular. I think it's endemic with a lot of these craft brewers. And yeah, I get that some people like this beer. quite a sizable amount of people like this beer. But there are, you know, your hardened, I wouldn't say your hardened drinkers, but your regular drinkers, they're not massive fans of this type of piney, citrusy, American-style fruit cocktail. You know, this is halfway on track. And I saw the little Welsh fella the other day talking about Brewdog. He reviewed a Brewdog beer, and he was more or less saying the same thing as well. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to copy him, because I've been saying this in videos since, well, not since I began, but for the last 2 years at least, possibly 3 years, how craft beer is, you know, they need to diversify and stop getting these fucking fruit cocktails. And the high turnover, the different beers that they're doing, I don't get it. It's like there's a different beer every week. Brewdog, prime example, over 400, 500 beers in the last, 5 years? It's just ridiculous. You know, these small batch beers, why are you doing it? I don't know. Anyway, rant over. So out of 2, I really didn't like that at all. It's just everything I don't like about craft beer. This stuff, you get in there. It's more of an English characteristic on it, which is to my taste. Now again, as I say in all my videos, this is my personal taste. Your tastes may differ, but it's getting there. I'm not saying it's there, but it's kind of getting there towards an English IPA. So, what is the verdict on Bridge the Gap Pale Ale, or Mind the Gap, from Mind the Gap, the collaboration, I'll get it right in a bit, and Curious Session IPA? Well, I have to say, I did prefer the Curious Session IPA. I'm not saying that because I've come from Kent, but because it was more in tune with the style of beer that I like, which is basically traditional English, traditional German, and traditional Belgian styles of beer. This stuff, I think, is, I wouldn't say it's everything that's wrong with beer, but it's everything I don't like in beer. That whole fruit cocktail, piney, resinous style. I wouldn't say it's a cop-out, but it's easier for brewers to brew this because the hops just dominate. And as I say, if the hops don't dominate, then you can always throw in some fruit puree to give it that fruit cocktail style flavour. But for me, it's not what I'm into, unfortunately. And I was given this, and my mate said, can you give it a shout out? But I have to be honest with you all. If you're a fan of the piney, and this is very piney in my opinion, pine, resin, bitter. They call it a pale ale. I mean, for my palate now, that this is very bitter. If you're a fan, even a fan of West Coast IPAs, you probably would like that. However, not really my thing now. I've been spoilt by too much good German, British, and Belgian beer to be a fan of that. To be honest, this is kind of getting there, but it's not quite there yet. I think your hop choice, you got the Goldings right. Chinook and Cascade, well, yeah, Chinook maybe at a push. Cascade though, I don't think so. But you're not far off. The malt's very nice, and they do use English malt. They make a big thing about making this beer with English malt. But yeah, to be honest, that needs work. That is not my style. Marks out of 10. I'll give that 5.5 out of 10. I'm sorry, but I'm going to give that a 2 out of 10. Simply, I'm sure there's people that like it, but it is just not my style. And remember, beer is working class champagne.
What the fuck is going on? Hey? What's going on? Oh, you bastard.